Welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Jake Gordon and Alex Laura. The Atlanta Falcons are coming off one of the worst performances of the Arthur Smith era. I don't think there's any doubt about that. They were absolutely throttled by the Lions in week 3. But hey, this is the NFL. We've talked about it all week. Games like this happen. You don't show up ready to play. You don't show up with a good game plan. You get out game plan. You get a team in there that they look like the whole game they wanted to be on the field a lot more than the Falcons did. They wanted to win that game. They had a high priority on that game. I'm not sure the Falcons did. I think they came in a little too high off their horse after that win. That happens in the NFL, especially when you're not that talented. The Falcons don't have the talent to make up that kind of effort gap or miscue gap or lack of execution gap with the game plan.
Quarterback gap.
Yeah, well, we don't have to talk. We talked about that. We know Desmond Ridder, it might be the 50th best quarterback on the planet. We don't have to talk about it. They go across the pond, play the Jaguars this week. Now, these London games are always weird, right? Like one team might have some jet lag. One team might. Falcons won in London last time they played. I think Kyle Pitts has just as many touchdowns in London as he does on American soil. What are the keys to this game, Alex? I'm going to start it off with you. I know you've already written a couple things on the site about it at sportstalkatl.com. Go check it out. What are the keys that you're looking for in this game that are going to decide if the Falcons move to 3-1 or go back to 500?
I've got a ton, so I'll just say one pretty straight, obvious one, and then bounce it back to you guys. And whatever you guys don't say, I'll clean it back up because I got plenty. It's fairly simple. Start fast. They haven't started fast all season long. 3 games they have played. I think they've scored like 10 points in 3 first halves. That's got to change. And it starts with Arthur Smith scripting a good first drive. That's the easiest time to score points when you can script a drive. And I think how you do that is you establish the run and you tell those guys up front, those 5 guys, hey, we're running the ball. They know we're running the ball. It's time to put up or shut up, put a face mask on a face mask. Let's bully these guys. It's that simple. Start fast, run the ball, and you've got to get points on the first drive. It doesn't matter if it's a field goal. Just get some points on the first drive. Start fast.
Yeah, I think the Jags are kind of a sleeping giant. I think they're a lot better than they showed last week. They always struggle with the Texans for some weird reason. Like they legitimately have lost to the Texans like at an absurd rate. And even when the Texans have been terrible and they've been decent. But I mean, I'm not going to – I can sit here every single week and say that Desmond Ridder has to play good for them to win the game, but that's just wasting my own breath. It's just going to be redundant. I'm going to go ahead and say it's just going to have to come down to offensive line play, pass protection. I've seen a lot of people try to make excuses for Desmond Ridder by saying the offensive line has been bad. Yeah, well, those things just aren't mutually exclusive. They both haven't been good. And if you're still at this point where you're sitting there saying that Desmond Ridder is going to lead the Falcons to the promised land, you're lying to yourself. You're delusional. You're lying to yourself. That's all I got to say about it. Just stop. Okay, I've seen enough. I've seen what I need to see. If he can play okay, the Falcons can win. But if the offensive line can play well, I think it'll go a long way in actually getting the Falcons a win.
I think it's fairly simple. Yeah, pass protection is a huge key. We saw how terrible it was against the Lions. It hasn't been that great in general this year, which is a shock. We all expected the Falcons' offensive line to be a strength this year coming into the season. I think I speak for you guys and a lot of Falcons fans. When I say the offensive line has been the single most disappointing facet of this team. And if you say Ridder, then you just set expectations way too high. But the good news is the Jaguars pass rush is anemic. They may have gotten 4 sacks in the first week against the Colts, but 2 of them were Anthony Richardson just running out of bounds behind the line of scrimmage. Another one came on a scramble. And 2 of them were Josh Allen. Josh Allen is dealing with a shoulder injury. Trayvon Walker, stud against the run, hasn't put it all together in the pass rush sense. So if there was ever a kind of get-right game for the Falcons' offensive line in terms of pass protection, it's the Jaguars. They should be able to hold up. Now, like I said, one of the biggest things is against the Lions. The pass protection looked so bad because they never got the run game going. The reason why the pass protection last year, Kayla McGarry in particular, looked, serviceable in pass protection, and the offensive line in general was considered one of the better pass protecting groups, was because defense respected the run. They had to play them honest. And when you get that play action going because they respect the run, Of course, the offensive line is going to look a lot better in pass protection. That's why I said we've got to get the run going. This is a run-first team. No, you're not kidding anybody. I don't care if they're stacking boxers or whatever. You got to run through a brick wall. I don't care if there's 8 guys in the box. Clearly, Desmond Ridder and Arthur Smith aren't capable of dicing up an 8-man box through the air. And maybe they are. They show it this week. But we have got to establish the run. We're a run-first team. Let's not kid ourselves.
Yeah, and a quick note too on Trayvon Walker. As you said, good against stopping the run. They've been doing some weird stuff with him this year. I've seen them drop Trayvon Walker and Kayvon Chason into coverage, and then him and Josh Allen into coverage and rush Kayvon Chason. Like they're just doing a lot of really weird stuff. I don't know if they're just trying to get too cute with things.
Yeah,
they've been running some really weird formations this year, and I like I said, I expect the Jags to get right at some point. I think they are a playoff team. I think they're good. And let's just hope it's not this week.
Yeah, I think the biggest key to me, and I know you're talking about establishing the run, but listen, every defensive coordinator and their mother and anyone that is facing the Falcons is going to watch what the Lions did in stacking the box and do the exact same thing and dare Desmond Ridder to beat them. And I'm putting the onus on both Ridder and Arthur Smith. They've got to come up with a game plan to beat what they faced last week, because I guarantee you they're going to see more of the same this week. And until they show they can beat it, they're not. So, I mean, it's ideal. Yes. Try to establish the run. I don't think they're going to go away from it. But if they stack the box, it's not going to be easy to run. And I expect that to happen. I think from the get-go, I know you say you want to pound the rock, you want to pound the rock, you want to pound the rock. I don't know if that's going to be possible on these stacked boxes. I don't know.
Listen.
And they're going to do this. And Desmond Ridder and Arthur Smith have to come up with, I don't care if they start going to 3 wide receiver sets. I don't care if Scotty Miller needs to be on the ball more. They need to come up with a plan that can beat this, because I'm not sure running 2-man routes and stuff with Kyle Pitts and Drake London is the answer to beating these sets, these stacked boxes. And they need to come up a way with to beat that. If they can't beat these 8-man boxes with the pass game, they have no chance. And it's not just this week. It's not just last week. It's the entire season. It doesn't matter who they play, because if you let the NFL team stack the box with 8 men and you can't beat it, you're not going to win games. You're not going to score points. It's that simple.
A couple of things. On 2 specific 2-man routes, they were open. We just didn't execute. So the 2-man routes, people don't like them. They were there. They were open. Falcons didn't execute. One was on Drake London. One was on Desmond Ridder. We could put that aside. Short passing game, screens, bubble screens, extension of the run game. That will soften up coverages. And I'm not saying this to you guys. I'm just saying to listeners that there are ways to soften up coverage other than throwing it downfield. We've got a couple of the most explosive players in the league with the ball in their hands, and Bijan Robinson and Kyle Pitts. Drake London is also not a scrub in terms of yards after the catch ability. We could have Cordero Patterson. He's another guy that threatens defense with his legs, with the ball in his hands. There's plenty of ways to extend the run game beyond just turning around and handing the ball off to Bijan Robinson into an 8-man box, like Chase said. You can't just keep running your head into a wall. But let's not kid ourselves. This is our identity. You have got to move people in the run game. I don't care. Listen, the Lions defense is for real. The Jaguars defense is no slouch. I'm not saying that either, but the Falcons aren't going to face many defenses as good as that Lions defense. They bring on the persona of their head coach.
I don't know about as good as that Lions defense, because
they have allowed the least amount of rush yards per carry this season.
Yes, and that's the thing that I agree. As far as run defense,
so they were very good at defending the run.
Defending the run.
And we diced up Green Bay's defense running the ball, even down 12
at running the ball. Okay, that's what I was saying. Because but the facts are you've got to exploit defense's weaknesses, and the Falcons weren't able to do that last week. And listen, I'm not saying they have to throw the ball down the field. I'm saying they got to figure out a way to pass the ball when they stack these boxes and get them out of these boxes, because it is almost impossible in the NFL to run on 8-man boxes consistently. So they've got to figure out how to soften these boxes, whether it's screen game, whether it's passing the ball downfield. They got to keep defenses honest, and I expect them to. I think a lot of people saw what happened last week and think it's going to be impossible. I don't think it's impossible. I think they can do this. But they have to do that, and I think they'll learn from this week and be a lot better in week 4. Is it going to be enough to win? Who knows?
Yeah, I think last week a lot of people are just bagging on, Desmond Ridder or Arthur Smith or whatever it is. But I really think last week's, terrible offense, anemic offense performance, was just a culmination of everything. Drake London, Kyle Pitts weren't on the same page as Desmond Ridder. Desmond Ridder's decision-making was not up to par. Arthur Smith, his play calling and play design was not up to par. The Lions came out with a game plan and they executed it to a T. It was just a perfect storm and nothing worked for the Falcons. Nothing worked. I'm not saying that this Falcons offense is, Miami's Dolphins, Chiefs, but they are better than what they showed last week against the Lions. They are certainly better than that.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I don't think we're going to see another performance like that, and I expect adjustments to be made. I mean, that's the first time all season someone came in there and punched us in the mouth and used that game plan against us, and it worked. And the Lions have the safeties to do that. Great run-stopping safeties that they were able to do that. Coming up after the break, we're going to get into our predictions. Week 4, Falcons versus Jaguars. Who wins?